So what are we making today, Carmen?
So today we're going to make a recipe called Arroz con Gandules that my tita Norma actually taught me years ago. Mm-hmm. And although my cousin Maida tells me that now tita Norma can't, she's getting older and like she probably could not make arroz con gandules anymore the way she used to. I luckily watched her make it one day and just made some notes so that I would have a baseline for exactly what needs to go into this. So similar to the arroz con pollo that we've made before, it's a one pot deal, awesome. So which is really great. But this is very traditional Puerto Rican cooking. Of course, we start with our sofrito base. This is one thing that I wanted to show you because unless you're in a very Latin neighborhood like ours in Washington Heights, you probably won't see this in the store, but this is called recao, or also called culantro. So it's similar in flavor and smell to cilantro or coriander, right? Mm-hmm. But my grandmother, my abuelo and abuela used to grow this out in the garden. So when my abuela would cook, she would tell me, Bebita, tráeme 3 hojas. Like, bring me 3 leaves of recao for whatever she was cooking. So I grew up like going to pick these from the garden, and I would go and try and pick like the best, nicest ones. But so this definitely goes in the sofrito. Another thing that is not, widely known, people know what like a green bell pepper looks like, but these are cubanelle peppers, or also called Italian peppers, and that goes in the sofrito. So we're not going to actually make the sofrito, but I have some pre-made.
Because you make it like in big batches,
right? I do make it in big batches. So whenever I make it, I throw everything in the blender and make a huge batch, like 6 cups of it.
Yeah.
Because of that, then I always have some either in the freezer or in my fridge, so I can just grab a tablespoon and throw however much I need. So we're not going to make that today, but I just want to show you those leaves because that's like part of my childhood that I love for cooking. So we're going to make arroz con gandules, and that takes this pork tenderloin. But we're going to use about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds.
Okay. So this is like a typical thing that you would eat like on a weeknight, right? Or is this a special occasion kind of meal?
You can make it on a weeknight because it's pretty fast since it's a one pot. You can make the arroz con gandules without any pork and just make it a rice side dish, or you can throw pork in there and make it a one pot meal. Right. I like to throw a little salad on the side so you get some greens also, because this can be a pretty like hearty meal, It's really delicious. And like for Christmas or New Year's, Christmas Eve, New Year's, it's a very typical dish that you would eat for a holiday as well. I love some Italian cooking, but I think Puerto Rican sofrito smells way better than carrots, onions, and celery. I'm sorry. Although Chris, his bolognese sauce is to die for, so I will never complain that he has to use the Italian trilogy in his cooking.
Well, but I mean, for Italian stuff, you use Italian things, and for
right, But this smell is just so good.
Well, I mean, and the other beautiful thing about this is that you can adjust everything to your own taste. Like a little more of this or a little less of that.
And that's exactly how I learned how to cook. So my abuela never actually used a recipe. And when I was 10, I just got so curious about what she was doing all the time in the kitchen. So I had to stand on a chair to see what she was doing and like see what was, to stir what was on the back burner. But we never used recipes.
Yeah.
You come from a family of dairy farmers, so like very different from my Puerto Rican tribe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, rice was like never anything that anybody made.
Right.
Because in the Midwest it was all potatoes.
Right.
So I mean, essentially, like my grandmother made a lot of stews and soups and things like that because you could feed like an army on it.
Right.
But rice was never something she cooked. It was something she would order.
Isn't
like when we'd go
funny?
out to a restaurant or something, if they had like a rice instead of a potato or something, she would order it. But my grandmother never cooked like rice dishes.
Isn't that funny?
Well, you cook with what you have.
Right. And we, if we ate potatoes a lot, it was like a fricassé de pollo, so like a chicken stew that happened to have potatoes in it, or carne con papas, also like a beef stew, but never like potatoes as an actual side dish.
Right. Whereas we had potatoes at like every meal. Roasted, baked, mashed.
Every which way.
Oh, every which way you could make a potato. And to this day, my mom, like, I think my mom doesn't think like a meal is complete if you don't have a potato. If it's not pasta, it's like not a complete meal unless there is a potato on the table somewhere.
That is hilarious.
That looks good.
That looks good, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna taste it to make sure it's not too salty and see if we have to adjust. Oh yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah.
Actually, you're right. See, you cooked with me enough to know the sabor puertorriqueño.
Well, I mean, like that.
You're like, I know what that flavor. It needs to have flavor, good flavor without having too much salt. Sometimes there's a fine line, right?
But I think like in all family cooking, like this is what makes like family recipes so tricky sometimes. Is like my grandmother like never wrote anything down, and I can't remember the last time, unless she's cooking something new, she doesn't use a recipe. And even now, because she's so experienced in the kitchen and she knows her taste, she like takes a recipe that's brand new. Whereas I always make it just how it's written the first time. She immediately starts adjusting things.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't even like try to play
the
nice.
Flavor combinations of what she prefers
and what her tendency is. Like, does she like something more sweet or something more salty? You want to top on this?
That's funny. Let's wait till it comes to a rolling boil, and then we'll turn it down to low and put a lid on it. So I love that your grandmother cooks the same that my abuela did. Like they just grew up with like throwing whatever they had in their cabinet or in their fridge, probably like in to make whatever they were going to make for dinner or lunch that day. And so they just learned to adjust flavors and textures and whatever they had to make something yummy for the family.
But I think anyone who like, once you're reasonably experienced in the kitchen and you've done maybe 10 dishes that require a certain level of skill, like then you can kind of figure out everything you need to, like for instance, like you know how to make all of these rice dishes because they're at the base of them there's like a common thing, right? Like there's a protein or not, and then you flavor everything, and then there's the liquid and the rice.
Yeah.
Bam. You've got an arsenal of like dishes that you can make, and you can feed your family for like days and days. My mom does not enjoy cooking, so she has 5 recipes in her arsenal of Puerto Rican dishes, and if you stick with one of those recipes on that list of 5, you're gonna eat really well. Yeah. But if you decide that you want to order off the menu, then you're eating at your own risk because she cannot cook anything else but those 5 things, and they're all so delicious. Yeah.